The red dust of New Jeju rose in clouds as another transport ship landed near the medical center. Daeho stood at the window of the command tower, watching his people die. 300 yesterday, 400 the day before. The plague had come from nowhere, spreading through the colony like fire through dry grass. His hands gripped the edge of the console. 40,000 people lived on New Jeju. In 3 weeks, nearly 8,000 had died. The human medical ships were still 6 months away, traveling from Earth through the long dark between stars. 6 months. His people did not have 6 months. "Captain Kim, we have incoming ships," the scanner operator called out. "Unknown signatures." Daeho felt his heart sink. Unknown ships usually meant trouble. Pirates, maybe, or one of the alien empires that saw human colonies as easy targets. His defense fleet consisted of 3 aging patrol ships with weapons that barely worked. If someone wanted to attack them now, while they were weak, there was nothing he could do. The ships came closer. They were massive, covered in strange organic curves that looked more grown than built. The radio crackled to life with clicks and chirps that the translator struggled to process. "Human colony, this is Vril medical vessel. We detected plague signals from orbit. We offer assistance." Daeho stared at the screen. The Vril. He had heard of them, the insect-like species that traveled the galaxy in living ships. They kept to themselves mostly, rarely interacting with humans. He had never heard of them helping anyone. "This is Captain Daeho Kim. Why would you help us?" "What do you want in return?" More clicks and chirps. "Want? Nothing. Life spreads or life ends. We choose spreading. Our physician will land soon." The Vril physician was named Tikra. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the medical center lights. The human doctors watched in amazement as she analyzed the plague in minutes, her clawed hands moving across equipment that looked like it was made from shells and bone. "Simple virus, mutation of common solar radiation sickness. Your immune system's not adapted yet. We have cure." Within 2 days, the dying stopped. Within a week, the sick began to recover. Daeho found Tikra in the medical center, preparing to leave. "How can we repay you?" he asked. "Name your price. We will pay it, even if it takes years." Tikra's head tilted in what might have been confusion. "Price? No price. We helped because we could. This is the Vril way, life debt neutrality. We give freely, expect nothing. But we owe you everything. You saved our entire colony." "You owe nothing. Forget this happened if you wish. We will not remember you." Tikra clicked her mandibles in what the translator called amusement. "Most species forget anyway." After the Vril ships left, Daeho stood with his wife Hyunji in their small home. She was the colonial administrator, the one who handled the politics and negotiations. She looked tired. The plague had taken her sister and nephew. "The Vril asked for nothing," Daeho said. "They saved us and asked for nothing." "Then we remember for them," Hyunji replied. She pulled out a datapad and began typing. "We will record this, every detail, what they did, when they did it, and that they asked for nothing in return. If humanity ever has a chance to help the Vril, we will. This is a debt we carry now." Daeho nodded slowly. "I will tell the fleet. We will make this official." 3 months later, the Sask came. Their ships were brutal things, all sharp angles and weapons. The Sask Empire controlled 12 systems near human space, and they were not friendly. Governor Routh contacted the colony with a simple message. "Human colony pays tax now, protection tax, 10,000 credits per month, or we destroy your water systems." Hyunji refused. The colony barely had enough money to feed everyone. 10,000 credits per month would starve them slowly instead of killing them quickly. She tried to negotiate, offering 2,000 credits, then 5,000. Ralph laughed, a hissing sound that made the translator crackle. "You misunderstand, human. This is not negotiation. This is instruction. Pay or suffer." When the deadline passed, 3 Sask warships descended on the colony. They did not attack the people directly. They targeted the 3 water processing centers, turning them into melted metal and broken pipes with precise weapons fire. Then they left. Water on New Jeju came from underground ice, processed through the centers and distributed to the colony. Without them, there was no drinking water. The backup systems could provide maybe 20% of what they needed. Daeho activated emergency protocols, rationing, water distribution by family size. The very young and very old got priority. But it was not enough. People began dying of thirst on the 3rd day. The human medical ships, the ones that had been too far away during the plague, were still 4 months out. Hyunji worked until she collapsed. She personally delivered water to families with children, carrying heavy containers through the red dust until her hands bled. On the 8th day, she did not wake up. Dehydration and exhaustion, the doctor said. Her body had simply given up. Daeho held her hand as she died. Their son, Tae-min, only 8 years old, stood beside him, crying silently. Around them, the colony struggled to survive. 2,000 people died before emergency water ships arrived from another human colony. That night, Tae-min sat at his mother's desk. He pulled out her data pad, the one where she had recorded the Vril's kindness. Below that entry, he added a new one. His fingers shook as he typed. "The Sask Empire, Governor Rolth commanding, demanded payment we could not give. When we refused, they destroyed our water centers. My mother, Hyunji Park, died on the 8th day. 2,047 people died total. The Sask killed them for money. I will remember this. Humanity will remember this." He saved the file and titled it simply, "The Ledger of Remembrance." In the years that followed, other colonies adopted the practice. Every major interaction with alien species was recorded. Every kindness received, every cruelty suffered. The ledger grew, copied to every human world, maintained by dedicated keepers who treated it like sacred text. The galaxy did not notice. Humans were still weak, still struggling to survive among older, stronger species. But the ledger grew. Entry by entry, debt by debt. And humanity, unlike most species, had very long memories. Admiral Taemin Kim stood before the Galactic Council, his gray hair and weathered face showing his 73 years. The council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from 40 different species. Most of them were ignoring him, conducting their own conversations through private channels. Humans were not important enough to demand full attention. "The Vril Collective faces economic collapse," Taemin said calmly. "The Hask conglomerate has organized a trade embargo. Vril worlds are running out of food and medical supplies. They will begin experiencing famine within 3 months. The Oron ambassador, a floating gas being named Velker, shimmered with what the translator called mild interest. The Vril refused to surrender mining rights to the Hask. This is a business dispute. Why do humans care?" Taemin reached into his coat and pulled out a data chip. He inserted it into the council's main display. A hologram appeared, showing medical records from 142 years ago. Records from New Jeju colony. Records of a plague and the Vril physician Tikra, who had cured it. In the year 2247, the Vril saved 40,000 human lives. They asked for nothing in return. They told us to forget them. Taemin's voice remained steady, but something in his eyes made several ambassadors pay attention. "We did not forget. We will never forget. The Vril have a debt of gratitude that humanity will repay regardless of cost." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. The Kelton ambassador, a large bear-like creature named Golvan, leaned forward. "Admiral, that was nearly a century and a half ago. Everyone involved in that incident is dead. You speak of repaying a debt to people who no longer exist." "The people may be dead," Taemin replied. "The Vril Collective still exists. They saved us when we were nothing, when we had nothing to offer them. That kindness does not expire simply because time passes." The Hask ambassador, a reptilian named Cross, hissed in annoyance. "If humans interfere in this embargo, there will be economic consequences. The Hask conglomerate controls 30% of galactic trade routes. We can make life very difficult for human colonies." Taemin smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "You can try, but understand this. Humanity has decided to repay our debt. Nothing you do will change this. We are not asking for the Council's permission. We are informing you of what will happen." 3 days later, the human merchant fleet mobilized. Ji-won Choi commanded the operation from her flagship, a massive cargo hauler called the Promise Keeper. She was 40 years old, a third-generation merchant captain who had grown up hearing stories about the Ledger. Around her, 300 human cargo ships prepared to break the Hask embargo. "All ships, this is Commander Choi," she broadcast on the fleet channel. "We are about to fly into hostile territory. The Hask will try to stop us. Some of us may not come back, but the Vril saved our people when we were dying. We will save them now. This is who we are. This is what it means to be human." The response was immediate. Every single ship confirmed ready status. Not one captain backed out. The Hask blockade waited at the edge of Vril space. 30 warships, bristling with weapons. The human cargo fleet had only light defensive screens and a handful of escort fighters. It should have been no contest. But the humans did not stop. They did not slow down. They simply flew straight at the blockade. Cross himself commanded the blockade fleet. He opened a channel to Ji-won's ship. "Turn back, humans. I will destroy any ship that tries to pass." "Then you will have to destroy all 300 ships," Ji-won replied calmly. "And you will have to explain to the Galactic Council why you committed an act of war against humanity. We are unarmed cargo vessels delivering humanitarian aid. If you fire on us, you become murderers, not business leaders." Cross hesitated. The Hask were aggressive, but they were not stupid. Destroying 300 unarmed cargo ships in front of the entire galaxy would turn every species against them. But if he let them through, the embargo would fail. He made his decision. Fire on any ship that enters Vril space. The human fleet entered Vril space. The Hask opened fire. Ji-won's ship took 3 direct hits. The shields collapsed and fire bloomed along the cargo bays. She kept flying. Around her, other ships were hit. The merchant vessel, Steady Hand, exploded in a ball of flame, taking 93 crew members with it. The Remember Tomorrow lost all power and drifted, life support failing. But the humans did not stop. The ships that could still fly kept going, pushing through the blockade like they were swimming through deep water. The Hask fired and fired, but there were too many ships. They could not stop them all. 73 human ships were destroyed. 2,114 people died. The remaining 227 ships reached Vril space and began distributing supplies to the starving worlds below. The galaxy watched in shock. Species that had lived for thousands of years could not understand what they had just witnessed. Why would humans sacrifice so much for an old debt? Why would they die for a species that was not even allied with them? On the Vril homeworld, the Collective Council gathered to watch the human ships land. They had not asked for help. They had expected none. The idea that someone would remember a kindness from 142 years ago was impossible to comprehend. The current Vril physician leader was named Chiktar. She met Ji-won at the landing pad, her compound eyes reflecting the human captain's injured form. Ji-won had burns across her arms and face from the fires on her ship. "Why?" Chiktar clicked. "Why do this?" Tikra is long dead. The humans she saved are gone. We asked for nothing. We expected nothing. Jiwan smiled through the pain. Tikra told my ancestor to forget, to not feel indebted, but she did not understand humans. We do not forget. We cannot forget. Your people saved us, so we save you. This is the way we are. The Vril were moved in ways their species had rarely experienced. They offered humanity a formal military alliance, something they had never offered any species before. But the humans surprised them again. "We do not want military alliance," said Admiral Taemin when he arrived to formalize relations. "We want scientific exchange. Your medical knowledge combined with our engineering. We can do great things together." The partnership began immediately. Vril biotechnology merged with human manufacturing techniques. Within 2 years, they had created medical treatments that could cure diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Human engineer Subin Lee led the development teams, working day and night with Vril scientists to perfect the new treatments. And then humanity did something that shocked the galaxy even more. They began giving the treatments away, not selling them at massive profit, not hoarding them for human use. They distributed them to any species that needed them, charging only the base cost of production. Subin explained it simply when asked by a confused Kelton reporter. "We are not doing this for profit. We are building something. Every species we help today is a species that will remember tomorrow. We are teaching the galaxy what the Vril taught us. Kindness matters. Help given freely is the most powerful force in the universe." But even as humanity helped their friends, they were watching their enemies. Deep in the intelligence division, Officer Minseo Baek had been tracking the Sask Empire for years. She reported directly to Admiral Taemin. "The Sask are overextended," she told him, displaying star charts showing Sask military positions. "They have been expanding too quickly. Their fleet is spread thin, trying to hold 12 systems with barely enough ships. They are vulnerable." Taemin studied the charts in silence. His mother's face appeared in his memory, the way she looked when the dehydration finally took her, the way she had kept working until her body gave up, trying to save just one more family. "Not yet," he said quietly. "We will wait. The Sask will make another mistake, and when they do, we will be ready. 144 years we have waited. We can wait longer. The ledger does not forget, ever." In the Sask Empire, Governor Skalth ruled with the same cruelty his grandfather Ralph had shown. He did not know that humanity was watching. He did not know about the ledger. He had no idea that every action his empire took was being recorded, analyzed, and remembered. The galaxy was beginning to understand something strange about humans. They were not like other species. They inherited debts across generations. They treated favors and insults as living things that never died. Some species found this admirable. Others found it terrifying. But all of them were beginning to realize that dealing with humanity meant accepting a simple truth. Nothing was ever forgotten. Ambassador Young-Soo Nam of the Oron Federation materialized in Admiral Taemin's office on Earth, the gaseous being swirled with colors that the translator identified as concern mixed with frustration. Around them, the walls displayed the ledger of remembrance, entry after entry scrolling past in an endless stream of recorded debts. "Your obsession will destroy you," Young-Soo said. "The Sask incident happened 144 years ago. Everyone involved is dead. Let it go. Move forward. This is what civilized species do." Taemin looked up from his desk. He was 75 now, his face heavily lined, but his eyes remained sharp. "Tell me, Ambassador, if someone murdered your family, would you forgive them simply because time passed? If everyone involved was dead? Yes. The universe moves on. Holding grudges across generations is madness." "Nations do not die as people do," Taemin said calmly. The Sask Empire that killed my mother and 2,000 others still exists. It still benefits from those murders. It still collects taxes from the colonies it terrorized. The organization that committed the crime continues to exist, so the debt continues to exist. Justice is not bound by individual mortality. Youngsu's colors shifted to something the translator struggled to identify. Fear, perhaps. You are not talking about justice. You are talking about vengeance. I am talking about balance, Taemin replied. The Vril showed us kindness. We returned kindness. The Sask showed us cruelty. We will return cruelty. Not more than they gave, not less. Exactly what they deserve. This is justice. The ambassador left troubled, and within days, his report spread through the Galactic Council. Many species began watching humanity with new wariness. The humans kept records. They remembered everything. They were patient in ways that seemed impossible, and now it seemed they were preparing for something, but humanity continued their work helping others. The medical treatments developed with the Vril were distributed to 6 different species facing plague outbreaks. Human medical ships, led by Dr. Bo-Ra Song, traveled to the edge of known space to treat the Macron species, who were dying from a genetic disease that had plagued them for centuries. Bo-Ra spent 3 months on the Macron homeworld, working 18-hour days to adapt the treatments. When she finally succeeded, the Macron Council offered her a fortune in rare minerals. She refused. "We do not want payment," Bo-Ra explained. "We want you to remember. When you look back on this moment, remember that humans helped you when you needed it. Remember that we asked for nothing. Remember us the way we remember the Vril." The Macron leader, an ancient creature named Thelkor, studied her with multifaceted eyes. "You are building a web of debts across the galaxy, creating obligations that will last for generations. Why? Because the universe runs on cause and effect," Bo-Ra said. "We are teaching other species that actions have consequences. Kindness will be returned. Cruelty will be answered. If we do this well enough, perhaps the galaxy will become a better place. Perhaps species will think twice before harming others, knowing their descendants will inherit that debt." The Macron agreed to remember. They added their own version of the ledger, recording the human aid in their cultural databases. Other species began doing the same. The idea spread like ripples in water, but the Sask had not learned the lesson. Governor Skalth, grandson of the Ralph, who had destroyed New Jeju's water systems, ruled the empire with iron cruelty. He saw human charity as weakness. He believed species that gave things away freely were fools to be exploited. When a human medical convoy passed through Sask space, carrying supplies to the Rethian refugees fleeing a civil war, Skalth saw an opportunity. The convoy was unarmed, undefended, wealthy. The medical supplies alone were worth millions. He ordered his fleet to intercept and seize the convoy. The human ships, led by convoy master Jin-Ho Wu, attempted to transmit their humanitarian credentials. They explained they were on a mercy mission, carrying medicine to save dying refugees. Skalth's response was simple: fire. The 3 human ships were destroyed in minutes. 3,000 people died, including 200 children who were being transported to medical facilities. The Sask fleet salvaged what they could and left the rest drifting in space. The news reached Earth within hours. Admiral Taemin was in the middle of a council meeting when his aide, Colonel Hae-Won Park, entered with the report. She handed him the data pad silently. He read it slowly, his face showing no emotion. Around the table, the other human leaders waited. They knew what was coming. They had all been raised with the ledger. They understood what this moment meant. Taemin stood slowly and walked to the window. Outside, Earth rotated peacefully in the void, blue and green and alive. He thought of his mother, dying of thirst on red New Jeju. He thought of the 3,000 people who had just died carrying medicine to refugees. He thought of 144 years of patience. Activate protocol balance, he said quietly. Begin preparations for debt collection. The room erupted in activity. Generals began mobilizing fleets. Intelligence officers started finalizing target lists. Diplomats prepared statements for the Galactic Council. The entire human government shifted into a configuration they had been planning for over a century. Tai Min returned to the council chamber 3 days later. Every ambassador was present this time. Everyone knew something significant was happening. The human representative, so often ignored, now commanded absolute attention. He stood at the central podium and activated a holographic display. 2 entries from the ledger appeared, hovering in the air for all to see. Year 2247. The Sask Empire under Governor Routh destroyed the water processing systems of New Jeju Colony. 2,047 humans died. The attack was unprovoked, a response to our inability to pay unjust taxes. The second entry appeared. Year 2391, 3 days ago, the Sask Empire under Governor Skalth destroyed a human medical convoy carrying supplies to Rethian refugees. 3,000 humans died, including 200 children. The attack was unprovoked, motivated by greed. Timon's voice remained calm, but something in his tone made every being in the chamber feel cold. For 144 years, humanity has recorded 2 debts against the Sask Empire. We have waited. We have grown. We have prepared. Today, we begin the collection. This is not a declaration of war. This is a declaration of justice. Skalth's hologram appeared in the council chamber, transmitted from the Sask homeworld. The reptilian governor hissed in what might have been laughter. Justice? You dare threaten the Sask Empire? We control 12 systems. We have fleets that outnumber your entire species. If you attack us, we will burn every human world to ash. You misunderstand, Taemin replied. We are not threatening you. We are informing you. The Sask Empire will answer for its crimes. The ledger will be balanced. This is not negotiable. This is inevitable. The Vril ambassador, Chiktar, rose to speak. Her voice carried the weight of her entire collective. The Vril stand with humanity. Our fleets are at their disposal. One by one, other ambassadors spoke. The Macron, who humanity had saved from genetic death. The Kelton Union, who humanity had supplied during their own famine years ago. The Torvin Coalition, whose worlds humanity had defended from raiders without being asked. 7 species pledged support to humanity, not because they hated the Sask, but because they remembered human kindness. They understood now what humanity had been building, a web of obligations and gratitude that spanned the galaxy. Young Su, the Oran ambassador, swirled with resigned colors. So it begins. The humans collect their debts, both good and bad. May the universe survive what comes next. On Earth, Admiral Taemin watched the council chamber dissolve into arguments and preparations. He felt no satisfaction, no joy, only a deep, calm certainty that what came next was right. Send word to Fleet Admiral Jae-Sung-Oh, he told his aide. Begin Operation Memory. The Sask will learn what it means to be remembered. Fleet Admiral Jae-Sung-Oh stood on the bridge of the warship Endless Memory, watching the Sask home system appear on the tactical display. Behind him stretched the combined human fleet, 400 ships strong, accompanied by Vril organic vessels and support craft from 5 allied species. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled, but they were not here for conquest. All ships, weapons stay cold, Jae-Sung ordered. Defensive screens only. We do not fire first. We do not fire on civilian targets. We are here for justice, not slaughter. Remember who we are. The Sask defense fleet met them at the edge of the system. 300 warships bristling with weapons, commanded by Admiral Kreth. The reptilian officer's face appeared on the communication screen, scales gleaming with battle excitement. You dare bring your fleet to our home system? You will die here, humans. All of you. Jae Sung's response was calm. We are here to collect a debt. Surrender the individuals responsible for the New Jeju massacre and the medical convoy attack. Face justice for your crimes. Do this, and no Sask civilian will be harmed. We surrender nothing, Kreth roared. Fire! Kill them all! The Sask fleet opened fire. The human ships did not return fire. Their defensive shields absorbed the incoming weapons, designed by human engineers specifically for this moment. The screens held, and the human fleet continued its advance, not shooting back, simply pushing forward through the barrage. They are not fighting, Kreth's tactical officer reported, confusion in his voice. They are just advancing. Taking our fire and advancing. Then fire more, Kreth ordered. Concentrate all weapons on their flagship. The endless memory shook under the concentrated assault. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. Shield generators at 60%. But Jae Sung did not give the order to return fire. Target their military communication satellites, he said calmly. Surgical strikes only. No civilian infrastructure. Human ships broke formation, moving with precise coordination. They bypassed the Sask warships and struck at military-only targets. Communication satellites, military supply depots, fleet coordination centers. Each strike was measured, careful, avoiding any structure near civilian populations. The Sask fleet, expecting brutal combat, found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to meet violence with equal violence. Human ships that were too damaged to continue simply withdrew. Those that could still fight continued the advance, taking fire but never responding with anything beyond necessary defensive measures. Commander Hye-Rin Kang led the ground operations. Her ships landed on the outer Sask military stations, deploying troops that moved with absolute precision. They had studied Sask military structure for decades. They knew every command center, every bunker, every location where the individuals they sought might be hiding. The fighting was brief and surgical. Human soldiers used non-lethal weapons wherever possible, stunning rather than killing. They captured military officers and government officials connected to the two attacks, checking each name against the ledger's detailed records. Governor Skalth himself was found in his palace, surrounded by guards. The human strike team, led by Captain Dong-hyun Park, breached the defenses in 12 minutes. Skalth raised his clawed hands in surrender, expecting execution. "You will stand trial," Dong-hyun told him. "Every being connected to the New Jeju massacre and the convoy attack will face justice. Fair, public, transparent justice. This is the human way." "Humans do not take prisoners," Skalth hissed. "Everyone knows this. You are a vengeful species. You will torture us, kill us slowly." "You truly do not understand us," Dong-hyun replied. "We are not vengeful. We are just. There is a difference. You will learn it." The trials were held on a neutral station, broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every accused individual received legal representation. Every piece of evidence was presented openly. The proceedings took 3 months, examined by representatives from 20 different species to ensure fairness. The evidence was overwhelming. Records proved that Roth had ordered the destruction of New Jeju's water systems over unpaid taxes. Communications showed Skalth had ordered the attack on the medical convoy for profit. 47 other Sask officials were connected to the crimes through direct orders, planning, or execution. The galaxy watched the trials with fascination and growing horror. Not horror at human vengeance, but horror at what the Sask had done. The systematic cruelty, the callous disregard for life, the complete lack of remorse. When the verdicts came down, every defendant was found guilty. The sentences shocked the watching species, not execution, but reconstruction service. Judge Ki-young Im explained the reasoning to the assembled council. "These individuals took lives through destruction. They will repay this debt through construction. Each guilty party will spend 20 years rebuilding infrastructure on worlds they harmed. They will work alongside the people they hurt. They will see the faces of those they made suffer. This is justice. Governor Scalth was sent to New Jeju. He spent his days rebuilding water processing centers alongside colonists whose grandparents had died in the original attack. He worked in the red dust under the hot sun, his clawed hands blistering from tools designed for humans. The colonists watched him silently, not cruel, not forgiving, just watching. One day, an old woman approached him at the work site. Her name was Yoon-ji Park, great-granddaughter of Hyun-ji Park. She handed him a container of water. "Drink," she said. "We are not like you. We do not let people die of thirst, even our enemies." Scalth drank, and for the first time truly understood what he had done. The water system he was rebuilding would provide for thousands of people. The one his grandfather destroyed had done the same. Lives that could have been. Generations that never existed because of casual cruelty. While the Sask answered for their crimes, humanity continued helping their allies. The Kelton Union faced invasion from the Vrax horde, a species that conquered through overwhelming numbers. The Kelton expected to fight alone. They had done nothing for humanity that warranted aid. But Captain Dong-hyun Park arrived with a fleet of 70 ships. He found the Kelton commander, Vel-Nar, preparing for a last stand at their colony world of Keltor 9. "Why are you here?" Vel-Nar asked, confused. "We owe humans nothing. We have no alliance." 10 years ago, when the Galactic Council voted on trade restrictions that would have harmed human colonies, the Kelton abstained. You did not vote for the restrictions. You chose neutrality when you could have chosen to harm us. Dong-hyun smiled. In a galaxy where everyone picks sides, neutrality in our favor is its own gift. We remember that. The combined human-Kelton force met the Vrax at Keltor 9. The battle was fierce, lasting 3 days. Dong-hyun's ship took heavy damage, life support failing on multiple decks. But the human fleet held the line, fighting alongside Kelton ships until the Vrax finally retreated. Vel-Nar met Dong-hyun after the battle in the medical bay where both were recovering from injuries. "We simply did not vote. We did nothing for you." "You did not act against us. In this galaxy, that means something," Dong-hyun replied. "Besides, now you have done something for us. You fought beside us. You bled with us. This will be recorded in the ledger. The Kelton are friends of humanity. We do not forget our friends any more than we forget our enemies." The news of the Kelton defense spread quickly. Other species began to understand the full scope of what humanity had built. It was not just about revenge. It was about consequences. Help humans, and they would move mountains for you. Harm humans, and they would pursue justice across centuries. Treat them fairly, and they would remember that too. The Sask Empire, broken and humiliated, began to change. With their leadership serving reconstruction sentences, younger Sask rose to power. They studied the ledger, learned its lessons, and started making amends. A Sask merchant named Vekra approached the human trade station at New Jeju. She carried no weapons, only goods for trade. "I wish to trade fairly," she told the station master. "I know what my people did here. I cannot undo it, but I can show you that not all Sask are like those who came before." The station master, a man whose grandmother had died in the water shortage, studied her carefully. Then he nodded. "Fair trade is always welcome. We judge individuals by their actions, not their species. Show us who you are, and we will remember that too." On Earth, Admiral Taemin reviewed the reports from across the galaxy. The Sask reconstruction was proceeding. The Kelton had become firm allies. The Vril continued their scientific partnership. 6 other species had adopted modified versions of the ledger system. "It is working," his aide told him. "The galaxy is changing. Species are thinking carefully about their actions now. They understand that humanity remembers." Taemin nodded slowly. He was old now, tired, ready to pass his duties to the next generation. But he felt satisfied. The debts were being paid. The balance was being restored. "Good," he said quietly. "This is what we built. A galaxy where actions matter, where kindness is returned and cruelty is answered, where justice may be slow, but it is certain. This is the human gift to the stars." 20 years after the Sask reckoning, the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. In the Galactic Academy on the neutral world of Axis 7, young diplomats from 40 species studied a new required subject, the ledger system and human memory culture. Professor Tekvar, an elderly Vril scholar, addressed the mixed species class. "Before you begin your diplomatic careers, you must understand how humanity changed everything. They taught us that time does not erase obligation, that nations inherit debts across generations, that the universe keeps score, even when we think it has forgotten." In the back row, a young Sask student named Velrock raised his claw. "Professor, my grandfather served a reconstruction sentence on New Jeju. He says the humans treated him fairly, even though his crime was terrible." "Why did they not simply execute him?" "Because," Tekvar clicked thoughtfully, "humans do not seek vengeance. They seek balance. Your grandfather took lives through destruction. He repaid that debt through construction. The scales were balanced. This is the difference between revenge and justice. Revenge feeds on pain. Justice feeds on restoration." On Earth, Admiral Taemin Kim's retirement ceremony filled the Grand Assembly Hall. He was 93 now, leaning heavily on a cane, his body finally giving up after decades of service. Representatives from 30 species attended, honoring the man who had shaped galactic politics for half a century. His granddaughter, Captain Jia Kim, stood beside him on the stage. She was 35, already marked as his successor in maintaining the ledger. The family tradition continued, passed down like a sacred trust. "When I was 8 years old," Taemin told the assembled crowd, "I watched my mother die because someone decided our lives were worth less than their profits. I wrote my first entry in the ledger that day, recording the names of those who died and those who killed them. I did not understand then what I was starting. I only knew that such things should be remembered." He paused, looking out at the diverse faces watching him. Vril compound eyes, Kelton fur and fangs. Even several young Sask in the diplomatic section there to learn from the past. The ledger has become something greater than I imagined. It is not just a record of human debts. It has become a philosophy, a way of thinking about cause and effect that transcends species boundaries. We have taught the galaxy that actions matter, that today's choices create tomorrow's consequences, that nothing disappears simply because time passes. After the ceremony, Jia found her grandfather sitting alone in the garden behind the assembly hall. She settled beside him on the bench, looking out at the carefully maintained trees that represented every human colony world. "Are you afraid?" Taemin asked her. "The responsibility is heavy. Every decision you make as keeper will affect billions of lives across generations." "Yes," Jia admitted, "but I understand why it matters. The ledger is not about holding grudges. It is about creating a universe where kindness is rewarded and cruelty has consequences, where species think carefully before acting because they know they will be remembered." Taemin smiled. "You understand. Good. The next century will test that understanding. The galaxy is changing faster now. New species are emerging. Old empires are falling. The ledger must adapt while keeping its core principles intact." Deep in the diplomatic corps headquarters, Trade Counselor Sung-Min An reviewed the latest reports with his staff. The numbers were remarkable. Galactic trade had increased by 40% in the past decade. Military conflicts had dropped by 60%. Humanitarian missions had tripled. "The universe is more honest now," Sung-Min observed. Species think 3 times before betraying anyone, knowing their descendants will inherit that debt. The Hask conglomerate, once known for ruthless business practices, now includes fairness clauses in every contract. The Vrax horde stopped their expansion and began diplomatic talks. Even species that hate each other maintain basic respect because they understand the long-term consequences of their actions. His assistant, a young diplomat named Wanshik Ko, pulled up another set of data. We have also seen 7 species adopt modified ledger systems. The Vril version focuses on medical and scientific debts. The Makran track technological exchanges. The Kelton maintain military honor records. They are all variations of the same principle. Remember, record, and respond appropriately. We have made the galaxy more just, Sung-min said quietly. Not perfect, never perfect, but better. That is something worth celebrating. On the Sask homeworld, Governor Scalth completed his 20th year of reconstruction service. He was old now, his scales dulled with age, his body worn from 2 decades of hard labor. But he stood straighter than he had in years. He had learned something during his sentence, something that changed him fundamentally. He met with a human observer, Inspector Kyung-soo Yoon, who had monitored his service. "I am free to go?" Scalth asked. "Your sentence is complete," Kyung-soo confirmed. "The debt is paid. By human law, you are released." "I wish to stay," Scalth said. The words surprised both of them. "I have been rebuilding water systems on New Jeju for 20 years. I know this work now. I am good at it. There are other colonies that need these systems built, not as punishment, but as, restitution. I choose to continue." Kyung-soo studied him carefully. "Why?" "Because I understand now what I took. Every time I activate a new water processing center, I think of the people who will drink that water. The children who will grow up healthy, the lives that will flourish. I cannot give back the lives my grandfather and I destroyed, but I can give new life to others. This is my choice. I will not forget what I did. I will spend the rest of my life balancing those scales." The news spread quickly. A Sask governor who could have returned home instead chose to continue helping. It became a story that young Sask heard in school, a lesson about redemption and choice. 3 months later, the Sask government sent a formal petition to the Galactic Council. They requested permission to build a memorial on their homeworld, commemorating the victims of New Jeju and the medical convoy attack. Jia Kim reviewed the petition in her office. As the new keeper of the ledger, such decisions now fell to her. She called an assembly of human representatives from every colony world. The vote needed to be unanimous. The debate lasted 3 hours. Some wanted to refuse, arguing that the Sask had not suffered enough. Others believed the memorial was insufficient, that more should be required. But in the end, the vote passed unanimously. Jia traveled to the Sask homeworld for the memorial's dedication. It stood in the capital square, a towering structure of crystal and metal that caught the light and threw it in every direction. Engraved on its surface were the names. All 5,047 humans who had died in both attacks. Each name carefully recorded, spelling checked by human archivists, given equal prominence regardless of who they were. At the dedication ceremony, the new Sask leader, Council Head Rickshaw, spoke to the assembled crowd. "This memorial stands not as punishment, but as lesson. Every Sask child will visit this place. They will read these names. They will learn what casual cruelty costs. They will understand that the universe remembers our actions, good and bad, across centuries. This is the gift humans gave us, the knowledge that consequences are real and lasting." Jia stood before the memorial, reading the names. Her ancestor, Hyunji Park, was there, her name etched in crystal, reflecting the alien sun. Around her, Sask citizens stood silently, many with their children, teaching them about the past. A young Sask child, no more than 6 years old, approached Gia shyly. "Are you human?" "Yes," Gia replied gently. "My teacher says humans never forget. Is that true?" Gia knelt down to the child's level. "We remember." But remembering is not the same as hating. We remember kindness, so we can return it. We remember cruelty, so we can seek justice. But we also remember when people change, when they choose to be better. That is important too. Do you understand? The child nodded seriously. "I will remember this memorial. I will remember that my people did bad things, but I will also remember that we are trying to be better now." "Good," Gia said. "That is what we hope for. A galaxy where everyone remembers and everyone tries to be better." Back on Earth, Gia returned to the Ledger headquarters. The ancient database, started by a grieving 8-year-old boy, now filled entire data centers, millions of entries, billions of cross-references, a living record of galactic civilization. She opened a new entry, her fingers moving across the holographic interface with practiced ease. Year 2412, Day 247. The Sask Empire completed construction of the Remembrance Memorial, honoring all human victims of their past crimes. The memorial includes every name, treated with equal dignity. Sask children now visit it as part of their education. This represents genuine remorse and cultural change, recorded as evidence of Sask redemption efforts. She paused, then added another entry. Year 2412, Day 247. 3 vessels of the Auran pirate fleet attacked human hospital ship Mercy's Light near the Outer Rim. 17 medical personnel killed, ship destroyed. Attacking vessels identified. Investigation ongoing, debt recorded, justice pending. Gia saved both entries and sat back in her chair. The ledger continued. It would always continue. Good deeds recorded for remembrance and reward. Bad deeds recorded for justice and retribution. Not revenge. Never revenge. Just the careful, patient work of keeping the universe's accounts balanced. She looked out her window at the stars beyond Earth. Somewhere out there, the Vril were conducting research that would save millions. The Kelton were training alongside human officers, building an alliance that would last centuries. The Sask were teaching their children about the cost of cruelty. 7 other species maintained their own ledgers, learning to think in generations rather than moments. And somewhere else, pirates thought they had gotten away with attacking a hospital ship. They did not know humanity was watching, recording, remembering. They did not know that justice was coming, patient and certain as sunrise. Gia closed the ledger interface and stood. She had work to do, debts to track, kindnesses to repay, crimes to answer, the scales of the universe to keep balanced, one entry at a time, forever. "Humanity remembers," she said quietly to the empty room. "Always." The stars outside her window burned on, and the ledger grew, entry by entry, teaching the galaxy that nothing was ever truly forgotten, and everything eventually came due.